today's video, I'm going to talk a bit more about my own personal experience with intuitive eating and how amazing it's been at transforming my health. I started out at the age of 18 on my very first diet and unfortunately ended up in that chronic diet pattern that I know a lot of you will know very well, and I developed disordered eating as a result of it, which I am now fully recovered from and living a life that really is peaceful, happy, very freeing, and I've actually got time to think about things other than food, so I'm living a life of true purpose. So I hope this video inspires you to help you realise that all of that is possible for you as well, and often the first step to making those changes to get the life that you're dreaming of is to heal your relationship with food and your body, and that's what I'm here to help you with. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Georgina and I'm an intuitive eating coach and have a background in physiotherapy, and I'm really here to support people that want to change their health but just don't really know how. They've been on and off the diet track for perhaps a few years, perhaps their entire lifetime, and are just thinking, what do I do next? So I wanted to create this channel just to give some hope, give some inspiration and give you some guidance on how to incorporate intuitive eating into your life so that you can actually believe and trust in the possibilities of healing your relationship with food and body to get the health you deserve. And if you haven't done so already, please feel welcome to hit the subscribe and like button, and then you'll get notified every time I release a new video about all things health, wellness and intuitive eating. So I think for me, my starting point is when I went on my very first diet at the age of 18, and up until then I'd felt reasonably okay about my body image. As a teenager I sort of had a good relationship with food and my body, and ate all foods with variety and balance, and had a very stable weight as a result of it. And then when I went to university, everything sort of turned upside down in my world, because although I was looking forward to going away and living away from home for the first time, along with it came a really different lifestyle. So I was going out a lot more, getting to know new people, and at the time that involved drinking quite a lot more alcohol, which I had never done before that time, and just eating a lot differently. So I was having a lot of processed foods more regularly, and that sort of went with the student lifestyle at that time. And before I knew it, I'd put on about a stone in weight, which is about 14 pounds, in a very short time scale, just in the first few months of being there. And that was when I first realised that I didn't feel comfortable in my body and I wanted to do something about it. And I started comparing myself to other people at university and thinking, oh gosh, I'm not as pretty as other people, I'm not as thin as other people. And unfortunately that's where the catalyst of dieting started. And so I went on my first diet and it was really successful, as often it is at the beginning. I lost weight very quickly and I thought, oh, this is great, that's all I need to do, and then the weight will stay off and I'll be happy, so to speak. And then inevitably I got down to the weight that I thought I wanted to be, and then the sort of new habits I'd formed started to slip, and before I knew it I was back to square one again and thought, right, well, I'll go on another diet. And so the cycle started to repeat, and I went on diets on and off for the following years from that first diet at the age of 18, and my weight would go up and down like a yo-yo. And then I started to notice that after each diet attempt and then putting weight back on, I'd start to feel quite a lot of guilt, I'd feel quite a lot of shame, and I'd feel quite restricted around my food choices, and more so every time I did another diet. And so it ended up where my weight was fluctuating by a really big sort of amount of weight through those years each time I did a diet. So I would go all the way sort of up and down, probably about 3 to 4 stone at a time, which is I think between like 20 and 40 pounds or something like that in the different weight conversions. And it just made me extremely miserable, and I started to become quite self-conscious as well about going out with friends. You know, if I was at a higher weight than I thought was acceptable, I would decline sort of social invitations, and I would want to wait till I'd slimmed down to a weight I felt confident at to actually live my life fully. And as a result of that, after I'd finished university, that cycle continued, and I spent the following years really battling with like my body image and the way I was eating. And so I was just caught in this constant sort of diet cycle and yo-yo weight going up and down, and really not feeling physically great, but just always pursuing weight loss. And that was the thing that I always focused on. So I didn't really think about being healthy by doing the dieting. I just wanted to be thin, and that was all that I was focused on during those times in my 20s. And because of doing that, in fact, what happened was that I became the heaviest I'd ever been. So the more I focused on weight loss, the more it actually caused the opposite reaction, because obviously if you've watched some of the videos I've already done on this channel, you'll be aware that diets don't work. For 95% of people that go on diets put the weight back on they've lost and more within the first 2 to 5 years, and I definitely experienced that, and it really affected my sort of general confidence and sense of well-being. And then I had a turning point when I got to my late 20s. I'd also experienced binge eating through that time with my eating patterns, with that sort of disordered relationship with food. And I'd had some experiences with bulimia as well during that time, which I just sort of kept to myself because I was so ashamed of sort of how I was reacting to food that I, felt very sort of isolated with it. And so I ended up with mild bulimia, I would say. It wasn't anything that I had professional help for, but knowing what I know now, if there'd have been something more available when I was going through that, I probably would have taken the opportunity to have some support, and it would have been extremely helpful. But thankfully, as I went into my physio career during my 20s and I found a purpose at the time that was very fulfilling, I did notice that my eating settled when I sort of had more purpose in my life, interestingly. And that sort of started to make me realise that there was more to life than being on a diet. And that actually, the less I concentrated on dieting, the better my relationship with food became. So when I had a purpose of something else beyond, body image and a weight, that I actually felt more content. So the physio was like my first sign, really. I trained for that in my sort of mid-20s. That was my first sign that actually finding something you really want to do in life that's fulfilling can make quite a difference in sort of your relationship with food on the back of being a chronic dieter. And then I met my then husband in my late 20s, and that confirmed even more to me that when life was more content, that my relationship with food improved again. So being in a lovely romantic relationship where I was really respected and understood and supported and seen and heard and accepted for exactly who I was, my food choices and the way I was eating changed again. And so I was aware that I was actually just naturally eating a lot more in keeping with hunger and fullness cues. And I hadn't even discovered intuitive eating at that point in my life, but naturally, the more content I was, the more peaceful I felt around my eating patterns. So again, I was quite aware that how I felt about myself in life could affect positively or negatively the food choices that I made. So I definitely was somebody that used food to cope with life, whether that was, in a positive way or in a negative way. And then very devastatingly, my husband died of cancer in his early 30s. And with that devastation and recovering from that huge loss, I noticed that my eating patterns changed again, and I started to notice that I was binge eating again as a way to cope with all of the emotions of grief. And I started to have a lot of body image sort of challenges again, because I was suddenly putting lots of weight on in a short space of time. And at that point I thought, I can't go on another diet again, because I've been through all of that in most of my 20s, and I just know that's not going to help me anymore. But what could I do instead? And that's when I started to look for answers elsewhere, because I knew that dieting just led to misery, really, and sort of a lot of food obsession, not being able to maintain the weight that I'd lost even if I did do one. And I found them more and more restrictive the more I did them, and the less time I could stick to them, the more that I did dieting. And so I discovered intuitive eating. So this was in my 30s. And ever since then, it's been a fantastic experience of healing. I'd already had some self-awareness, almost what felt like coincidence the years prior, without realising that I was tapping into sort of my own inner wisdom. But then the intuitive eating confirmed and gave me all the information that I didn't have myself to really help me, do the full healing required to then be in my best health and to have a really fantastic relationship with food and body and be in the best health that I've been in. So I embarked on the sort of journey of reading the intuitive eating books. First of all, that was what I did just to sort of get some information and knowledge. And then I started following a few different people that were teaching that work sort of through social media. And then I had some group support from someone that I was following at that time in intuitive eating, and that really helped me understand that quite a large amount of my food choices were coming through an emotional eating perspective. So I was using a lot of coping strategies for my emotions by not feeling them and using food instead, which at the time was really interesting because I'd never connected the dots until then as to what emotional eating really was. And that was really interesting and sort of confirmed to me just how helpful, the intuitive eating framework is to really get that deeper understanding of yourself to do the healing. And so I went through that whole process, and then I continued to implement the work myself. And then I realised that it was such a success for me that I would love to help other people. And I was fortunate enough to be able to sign up with Evelyn Tribole, who's one of the co-authors of Intuitive Eating, to train to become a certified intuitive eating counsellor, which is what I do today. And again, that was another fantastic pivotal point for me in my own journey as well, because I was able to have even more support just to sort of finish some of the other areas of healing that I was doing around this framework. And then I've gone on from there to continue to support people and get great results for, you know, all the clients that I support, as well as the results that I got for myself. And much though this work isn't easy, it really is worth doing if you recognise yourself that you're just exhausted with diets, but you really do want to feel more at peace in your body and still have all the health benefits that you were trying to pursue through dieting and weight loss. You know, it's really freeing to be in a place where you do completely trust your body, you enjoy everything you eat, you can eat all sorts of different foods and know that you've got the trust rather than control to make the choices, so that everything is eaten in balance, moderation and variety, so it always honours your health. Where, you know, diets are very sort of rigid in the all or nothing mentality, like you're either eating good foods or you're eating bad foods and there's nothing in between. Whereas intuitive eating teaches you that you can incorporate all foods that satisfy you and have the balance and frequency that gives you all the physical health benefits, as well as the mental and spiritual benefits that come with, you know, eating a variety of foods, enjoying your food, being able to eat in social settings, you know, and not be worrying about calorie counting, and just know that, you know, you can really be at peace. And once you've done that, it really does free up a lot of time and space and energy in your brain to actually focus on other things that you want to give purpose to in your life beyond food. So, you know, for me, that looked like wanting to help other people more with this work and be able to go out and enjoy myself more in life, all of which I've done and continue to do. And I no longer feel self-conscious when I'm out. I always look forward to, you know, different food experiences, and I don't get stressed anymore about how I'm going to plan for eating if I go out, and that I'll have to save calories for this or burn them off the next day with that. You know, everything just comes much more into a natural sense of flow, and just that sort of main piece of trusting your body, and really just knowing that, you know, you're not here to exist as a person that's always on a diet. You know, life's about so much more than that. And once you've gone through this process of intuitive eating, it just makes you realise how much joy there is to be had in life, and how when you don't think about food all the time, it just opens up so much more happiness and joy for doing all the things in life that you want to do without feeling held back because of worries about your body image or worries about how you're going to control your food. So that's what I do now for my career. Is I used to do physio, did that for over a decade in the NHS in the UK, and a bit of private work here and there. And then I decided to sort of move away from that because I was moving more towards the health coaching anyway, and the intuitive eating. And I've been taking on more and more clients over the last couple of years to continue to be help and hopefully inspiration and support to people that also want what I wanted, which is just to feel free and peaceful and in really good health, and knowing that, you know, you're more important as a person beyond anything that you could pursue in an external goal or value of how you look or what you weigh. You know, you're more important as a person for who you are, what you think, how kind you are, how you help others, how you support yourself. You know, there's so many qualities that are more important than how you look and what you weigh. But when you're in that diet mentality, like I was, you just can't see beyond those very rigid thoughts, and, you know, it sort of robs you of your happiness. So that's just a brief introduction to my transformation with intuitive eating, and I'll do more videos on it in the future, but for now, that's sort of what I wanted to share about why I'm here today doing what I do, and just that this work means so much to me, and it's a real honour to support all of you, whether it's just through these videos or whether it's that, you know, I get the privilege of supporting clients one-to-one. It's just great to see people getting the benefit from this work, and really just witnessing that transformation that I see all the time in clients that, you know, are doing this intuitive eating process and, you know, are seeing such incredible results. So I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you want to get started, you're quite new to this work, please do feel welcome to just click in the link below. There's a free intuitive eating beginner's guide just for you to get started with some resources. And if you just click above here, there's the video that's the introduction to intuitive eating, which might be a nice one for you to look at if you've not already watched the videos on the channel so far.